Hello, and welcome to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and today we are cooperating with chords again. We're going to talk about alternate and capo chords in Finale. And entering alternate chords in Finale is actually pretty easy when you're typing in. I just put my cursor there, and I can type in my F sharp chord there. And before I press the space bar, if I press the up arrow, you'll see that my cursor will be put right above the chord that I entered. So now I'm able to enter an alternate chord. So I could put F sharp 7. And when you press the space bar, it will go to the next beat, but it will put it back to the original main chord line there, right? So we can do this again. We can do G sharp minor and press the up arrow, and I can do G sharp minor 7. And actually, you can keep going. So I can do another alternate, G sharp minor 9, maybe one more, G sharp 13. And actually, it seems that this is will go on forever if you keep going. So you seem to have an unlimited number of alternate chord lines there. However, no matter where you are, and incidentally, when you're at a chord, I'm on that fourth chord there. I can press down to highlight that third, the second, the first, etc. Wherever you are, when you press the space bar, it will always take you back to the original chord line. And you cannot press the up arrow if you don't have a chord there. So you can only have an alternate chord when there is an existing chord. It works a little bit differently than the lyrics tool, whereas you can actually just sort of define a second row of lyrics or a second verse or whatever, and you don't necessarily have to have a first verse. With chords, it's different. And the other difference is that with the lyrics tool, you'll have individual bassline triangles for each set of lyrics. With chords, you don't have that. So unfortunately, we don't have a set of bassline triangles to control the second line of alternate chords here, or the third or the fourth, or any of these. So the triangles themselves will actually affect all of them all at once. The spacing between the chords and the alternate chords are sort of fixed by Finale in that regard. So that's a big difference. The other caveat to this is that when you use the utilities change chords utility here, this will affect all of the chords, including all of the alternate chords. So there's actually no way to filter out for the second line of chords, for example. Whenever you use this utility, you're changing all of them all at once, which is just limits you with your capabilities in this regard. So somewhat related to the alternate chords is the capo chords, obviously. And now every single chord in Finale, every single chord symbol, when you go into the chord definition dialog box, does have the option for the capo. So you can actually define any chord to be a capo chord. So if you check that option and enter 2, so we're capoing at the second fret, and click OK, you'll see that it turned that F sharp chord into an E chord, which is the capo version at the second fret of F sharp. We can, we can do this individually per, every single chord if we wanted to. Capo at second fret, capo this one at second fret, this one. But obviously that gets a little bit tedious. So, there's a quicker way to do this. And in fact, if you select that entire line and use the utilities change chords function, we can use the capo option here to choose capo 2, and this will change this entire chord line to capo chords. And of course, you'll notice that the capo chords are italicized, and that's because in the chord tool, in the chord menu, we do have this option for italicizing capo chords. If we uncheck that, then those capo chords will no longer be italicized. But I recommend keeping that checked so that you are aware of which ones are italicized, or which ones are capoed and which ones are not. Now, I was looking into a way to see if it's possible to italicize chords without capoing them, and I thought maybe I could trick Finale into doing this by selecting capo at fret 0, but alas, when you click OK, it will not italicize that chord. I thought I'd even be clever and trying capo at fret 12, and the same result. So it's Finale's not going to be outsmarted in that particular regard. So the italicized capo chords will only italicize if it's any number here other than 0 or 12, or probably 24 as well. So that's just how that works. In addition to the chords being, the chord symbols being capoed, the fretboard chords will be capoed as well. Let me just delete those before I get a mess here. So if we show the fretboards and we decide to capo this chord on guitar 2 at fret 2, watch the chord diagram here. You'll see that it gets changed to the E major chord shape instead of the F sharp chord shape. So the fretboards will actually be affected by the capo as well. Just undo that. We don't want to show those. So as you might surmise, one possible way of getting a second line of capo chords is to actually enter in a second line of chords and then choose to capo that second line, which we can sort of do. Of course, we do have to, press the up arrow. We do have to actually type the same exact chord because the capo functionality is what's actually going to transpose the chord. So what we can do is just type the same chord over E sharp, etc. And then we can go in here and just choose that top version and capo at fret 2, capo at fret 2. And you can see that this would very, very quickly get extremely tedious to do that one at a time all the way through your score. Finale does provide us a nice utility that will do this all at once for us. All you have to do is select the passage and go to Utilities and choose Add Remove Capo Chords. And you'll get this little utility that will allow you to add capo chords, and it will put it on the line above. And interestingly, it will actually give us some a little bit more control over the space of that second line. So whereas you wouldn't have that control just using the up arrow to get to the second line, we can actually change that. So I believe the .222 value is what's the default setting for that second alternate line. But if you want to make it a little bit larger, we can make it 0.35 or something. And of course, just choose the capo at fret. And we have the option of adding a text at the start of the region, which you can choose to use or not. And of course, the fretboard font has to do with converting the fretboards if you're using them into the font version of that, which normally we don't want to do. So if we click OK, we'll get our alternate line of capo chords across the top. And you can see that there's just a little bit of extra space in there because I changed that value. So if I undo that one more time and just show you what the original value is here of 222, capo at fret 2, and maybe this time I won't add the text so you can see that what happens there. So you'll have your capo chords like that. Now we can use that utility to remove them as well, and I would recommend doing that instead of trying to go through and deleting every one. So just choose remove existing capo chords and they all go away. This is also where we would change the capo chords. So if we originally put them as capo 2 and then wanted to do change that to capo 1, we could do that as well. And there we go. And this brings up an issue that I want to talk about with these capo chords. So the problem with the capo chords is that the algorithm that Finale uses to calculate this is really, really terrible. As you can see, what I tried to do here is capo at the first fret in the key of F sharp, which I realize is pretty stupid anyway for a guitarist, but the result really shouldn't be an E sharp chord, C7 over E, A sharp, G minor. You know what I mean? These should be F chords. This should probably be a B flat 7 chord. And I think if I choose the simplify spelling, it will fix some of those things, but not all of them. So the A sharp 7 is still incorrect. So let me illustrate this a little bit better in the key of F major. Let me just set this up real quick, because this is probably more common. You're going to have a song in F major, and you want to capo at the first fret for your guitar, and you try and do this, add capo chord, capo at first fret, and you get this kind of a mess. You get the C flat 7 over E flat, A7, G flat minor, E double flat 9 where there's an E flat chord. I mean, this is just, it's a E9 over A flat. I don't know what's happening here with the algorithm, but I think that the general idea, I believe, is that Finale is not necessarily considering the key of the chords that are in the capo slot, so it's not considering the fact that this is now the key of E major for the guitarist. It's still thinking about this in the key of F, although why it would put E double flat 9 instead of D9 is beyond me. So The capo function here is not exactly 100% precise, unfortunately. But I did figure out some sort of quicker solutions to some of this, because if you do need to do something like this, you are going to end up with these types of problems, particularly with the first capo, where I think the issue is that you're crossing between keys with flats to a key with sharps. So you're going from F major with one flat to E major with four sharps, and for some reason crossing over the flats and sharps is a big problem. It's much more successful when you're capoing at the second fret, and I think the third and fourth and fifth fret. It just depends on what key you're going to from what key. You know what I mean? So if you're going from flats to sharps or sharps to flats, you'll get some problems like this. So the quickest solution to this, and it gets a little technical, but if I go into the chord definition dialog box for this particular capo chord, you see that it's showing as C7 over E capoed at first fret. Now, it has something to do with the root and the alternate bass notes here. We can go through and change these to be like 6 -1 or 4 -1 or something. I forget exactly what it is, but changing the scale tone and the alteration will sort of sometimes force Finale to display the correct capoed chord here. But the quickest solution I found to this is actually to change the chord symbol itself. So we're going to do, instead of C7, we're going to raise it all a half step, so C sharp 7, but we're going to capo at the second fret just for this chord. And interestingly, what that will produce is a B7 over D sharp chord, which is really what you want to see when you're capoing on the first fret between the key of F and the key of E. So effectively what I'm doing is I'm tricking Finale into thinking that this is a second capoed chord here. It's really the best way I've found to do this. We have the same problem with the G minor chord here. So with the G flat minor capo, instead of G minor, I'm going to call this G sharp minor capoed at the second fret, and that should change it to F sharp minor. It's a really bizarre thing. It definitely seems wrong to me. The algorithm seems really sketchy to me, but that was the best solution that I can find. And it's weird because you end up with chords with different capos on it. So you have capo at fret 1, and you have capo at fret 2 for each chord, but the result is that the chords are going to look the same. Now, if you're playing back chords, you might want to delete all the or mute all the chord playback, because I'm sure that this is going to create some sort of disaster of playback sounds when you try and do this. So that's sort of my suggestion for this really faulty capo situation with Finale. But that's how you do it. That's creating alternate lines of chords and capo chords in Finale, and I think that's all I've got on it. So thanks for watching. I hope this has helped, and I will see you on the next video.